a lot of what we're covering today is like really basic arboriculture. Of course, arboriculture is the study of growing of trees. And we're talking about pruning, but really, out of all the things that we prune and cut in the yard, I mean, if we cut a shrub, is that going to be the end of the world, or is it going to fall and crush somebody's house or car, or are they going to create a dangerous situation? Probably not. But with trees, happens all the time. People ruin trees and they make the wrong cut, and then you get a weak branch attachment. 15 years later, that branch breaks off and falls onto somebody's car or onto their shed or onto their house or through a window or onto somebody. So it's a real important thing that we learn how to do it right, and then we learn how to identify what's right. So as a maintenance people, right, we have to know that stuff. I mean, you own a property and you look and you go, wow, yeah, there's a hanger in that tree, super dangerous. There's bad branch attachments. So the few things we're going to talk about for sure today is just about the reasons why we prune. And the number one thing to realize is there's two different perceptions of tree pruning. One is fruit trees and the other is ornamental trees. Nothing even similar. There's no real related similarities. The rules of general, let's say, ornamental trees, the number one rule is that we prune trees to make them better, not smaller, right? Pruning not to make trees small. Why would you prune to make a tree smaller, right? Because we have to assume that whoever planted the right tree in that spot so that the tree can just grow. If it's underneath a power line, then it's limited. That tree is a maintenance issue. You're going to have to either remove that tree one day, or it's going to have to be dealt with. It's going to, maintenance of trees. Guys, pruning trees or hedge trimming trees is a big no-no, but it happens in a lot of these communities. You'll see guys out there hedge trimming trees. They're really, really hard on the tree itself as far as the health goes, but it's a maintenance issue. It's thousands of dollars a year they're going to spend on that. It's got to be done every year. They just put the right tree in at one time. They would just be enjoying that tree. And then the guys, whoever's doing the maintenance, so the guys who know, they walk in, they look at the tree and they go, oh, wow, there's a bad branch in there. Take it out. A little bit of dead wood. Take it out. Done. Good for another 5 years. Every time you go in, you eyeball the trees really quick. You spot a problem. You correct the problem with that one cut or two cuts, and you go about your business. People say, oh, I thought you were going to prune those trees. So yeah, I did. Well, I didn't see any difference. It's like, yeah, it's because I'm a good pruner. Right? You see it all. That means it's bad. That means they did it bad, Jeff, right? So it's the same even with some shrubbery. We talked before a little bit, and we were talking about maintenance of shrubbery, how prune a shrub. And sometimes when you prune a shrub, when you're done, the thing could be reduced or shaped or whatever, but you don't really, don't always tell that the thing is pruned. So the reasons that we prune are fairly out there, but it's really the main reasons are to promote healthy growth and to eliminate dead, disease, and dying wood, the 3 Ds, right? So anytime you see dead wood on a tree, just take it out. If you see diseased wood on a tree, it's got to go first. When I go to a tree, I look at a tree, I'm standing there, I got my pruning equipment on, I got my saws, my pruners and stuff, and I'm ready to go. I just quickly look and I go, okay, how much of this wood is dead? Go through, boom, 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 take all the dead stuff out. Okay, do I see any diseased wood? I have to look through, find stuff that has maybe wounds or cankers on it, like so. Something that's showing there's a diseased issue. Then I want to start thinking about that right away and take that wood out. Trees, branches that rub. There's the example right there of branches that rub. Okay, it's a bad situation. You can see the ends, how these branches are rotted out inside, right? And that's why you prune, right? This would be damaged wood. But the damage happens first, and then the disease organisms get inside and start to rot it out on the inside. So that's one of the reasons why we prune. Get rid of the diseased wood. So the other reason, the reason we're getting rid of the diseased wood is so that it doesn't proliferate and spread around the tree or spread to other trees nearby, right? So it's really for health reasons we're getting rid of those bad branches. We're also we're pruning like other plants just to improve the general look of the tree, like for lopsidedness. Which every time that's, like I say, I go to a tree, I go take out all the dead stuff. Okay, now I got a clean tree. I take out all the bad stuff that's rubbing or crisscrossing or that's not right. I take out anything that looks that I need to get rid of. Then I stand back and look at it for shape. What do I have left now? So maybe I really screwed it up, or maybe now it's all lopsided. So then I might just take another branch out. But one of the keys is to selectively remove branches to achieve the shape we want. but not necessarily cutting off the end of the branch. And we'll talk about that as we go along here as well, but the way that trees will respond to the pruning that we do. So those are really some of the reasons. Another reason that we get pruned is, of course, with fruit trees is to promote fruit growth. With fruit trees, like I said, with ornamentals, we want to prune for support, stability, strength, We want to make sure that tree's going to last a long time. It's not going to fall on somebody. It's a long-term investment. For fruit, we need access, number one, right? So we can pick the fruit. We need to be able to spray it, keep the pests and bugs out of it. We need to be able to get inside, open it up so light can get through. And many types of fruit, like peaches are a good example. They need to be pruned really hard in order to encourage really nice, healthy peaches, like large, healthy fruit. If you prune them too light, the fruit tends not to be as good quality. So we're always pruning for that, to be pretty heavy pruning on certain fruit trees to get the result that we want. Also with plants, like say with shrubbery, we had talked briefly about shrubbery in one of our previous classes, and we talked about how there's cane shrubs that have sort of these large shoots that all shoot up from the base. And then when we go through a cane shrub, that we remove certain branches. And basically, there's really only two types of shrubbery, right? There's little shrubbery with little tiny twigs and branches. And then there's large shrubs that have big canes, and they call them cane shrubs. And of course, when you're in certain places, these are the shrubs that grow really big, right? So what happens is most commonly they get way bigger than what people think. So then, unless it's part of the plan, because sometimes people plan on them being topiaries, so little balls or cubes or diamonds or whatever they are, and they're trimmed with hedge trimmers, right, to form a shape. And that's a topiary. And that's the only sort of an example of that. But other than that, if you see plants that are trimmed to keep off of walkways, like you do see in some of these places where you see a lot of, they're fence communities, and you'll find these areas are heavily hedge trimmed. And what happens is that the little shrubs that have little twigs and little branches, like the spirea, really common shrub that we see, those things are just typically hedge trimmed in the springtime to cut them down really low, and they just come back totally rejuvenated every year. But the big cane shrubs are a completely different ball of wax, because these guys, they typically are going to bloom on last year's growth or the year before. Did you give an example of a species? Cane shrubs are anything like any of the 9-bark family. The forsythias are cane shrubs, beauty bushes, dogwoods, all the dogwood shrubs, right? Even some rose, a lot of rose bushes are cane shrubs. Butterfly bushes are cane shrubs. Sumac is like borderline shrub tree. So it's getting a little bigger, more tree-like, a little bit bigger. But the elderberry is a huge shrub, right? 20 feet high. They could be huge. Beautiful shrub, but really cane-like, right? Shooting up from the base. So if I have a dogwood shrub, which is common variegated dogwood, so another reason why we would prune these things is to rejuvenate and to encourage beautiful foliage. So like on a dogwood, variegated dogwood, it's a very common shrub, has that kind of a light green leaf with the white kind of mottling in it. And the variegated form, that's why you have those shrubs, is for the variegated color. So the nice big leaves, nice and colorful, that's what you want. If you grow the shrub with old wood and it gets quite big and old and it gets that kind of dry looking bark on it, that's old, diseased wood. When you follow it out to the tips and look at the leaves, right? And the leaves are small and they're kind of wrinkled up and they're kind of very dull in color. But you see the suckers coming out the base of the tree. They're huge, beautiful, brightly colored, and they're healthy. So what we do to grow a cane shrub, every time we go to see a cane shrub, we look at it, and if we're doing it in the spring is usually when they're done. But, there's some variations. But we look at it, we assess how many branches there are. And the very first thing I do is I know I got to get rid of some of that old stuff. So I'll go inside, I'll use a big pair of loppers, or I'll use a saw of some sort. And I'll get in there and I'm going to hack out the biggest branches in this thing. And I'll look inside and I'll say there's 3 or 4 really big old branches and then a bunch of mediums and a bunch of smalls. So I go like, well, if I dig out all those really old ones, I might just completely destroy the shrub. Might not be anything left, right? So I'm going to say, well, I'm going to take at least 2 of them out for sure, maybe 3. So I'll go in, I'll pick the oldest, biggest one, that's cut it right off, right at the base here, and remove it, pull it up. And I pull that whole thing out of that shrub, and it's like you're pulling out half the shrub. Throw it on the ground, you look at it, small leaves, poor color, You can do it when they're dormant or when they're leafing out. It's usually better when they're dormant. You can see the branches. So you pull that out, and lo and behold, you've got a completely different looking shrub. So you have a look, you see, maybe you can get one more piece out. So you find another old one, maybe cut that one out. And then you stand back and look at it. Now you're just going to do basic shaping. So this is sort of a general shape of a shrub, of a cane shrub. But we might say like, well, it's kind of getting taller than what we like. So we just find the tallest shoots. We follow it all the way to the bottom. We cut it out at the bottom and remove the tallest shoot. And then what that does is just by cutting out 2 or 3 shoots, you reduce its height by 3 or 4 feet. So I take out my 3 or 4 shoots. There's one shoot over here that hangs every time we go by. You know, the lawn edging is here or whatever, and the grass is here. And it keeps hitting people as they walk by. So we take that one out, follow it back, take it right off the bottom. So we selectively remove branches to reduce its size a bit and to put it where we want it. So now we got it pretty close. We just stand back and look at it and it says, well, it looks pretty uniform, but there is a branch and it's a little lopsided. So, well, let's just take out another branch from this side. And maybe these ones are a little bit too tall. So we take those out. We take this one out because it was over the lawn. And we take this one out because it's too low because we want to get under there and keep it clean. You say, oh, we did. Oh, but they don't look like it. Exactly. And I get a truckload of stuff I've hauled away. But when you look at it, you really can't tell 100% that the things are pruned, right? But by selective removal of branches, we come back to that nice uniform shape. And then we're actually encouraging on those big stumps we cut off, they sucker back, right? They start to grow new shoots and they start coming up on the inside for the next year. Those are your replacements. So you see what shrub maintenance like this is just guaranteed. The plants always stay healthy and they always look good and the foliage is big and colorful. So this is one of the reasons we prune is to encourage that young vigor. It's healthy, gets rid of the disease and just makes it look good.